everybody, I'm Emily Rose. Welcome to my channel. Means it is officially 2025. I wanted to do all the books that I read in 2024, and I read a total of 16 books. And so I'm gonna give you guys a thorough review, and my rating and what I thought about the book, and probably a little bit of what the book is about. But first of all, I want to share with you something that my parents got me for Christmas, and it's this sweater. Basgiath War College from Fourth Wing. And then down below it says, "There's nowhere in existence you could go that I wouldn't find you, Violence." That's what Xaden Rylson said. And then the back is even better, I swear to you. Is it not? Like, it's so cute. I love it. It's good quality, and I'm pretty sure that they got it off of Amazon because I had it on my list of something I wanted for Christmas, and yeah. Anyways, with that being said, let's get into all the books that I read in 2024. First book I am going to tell you about, I started December 29th, 2023, and I ended it January 23rd, 2024. And that is probably one of my most anticipated reads, and it's what my sister also got me last Christmas, and that is Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. As you can tell, I really did enjoy it. But if you don't know Fourth Wing, it has dragons, of course. It is a romantasy. Violet is our FMC. I personally love her so much. She is probably my favorite female character of like all the books I have ever read, and it follows her. She was supposed to be a scribe at the Basgiath War College, which scribes are ones that just write things and put it in books about what goes down with the wars and everything that are going on. Nevera, I think is how you pronounce it. But she is supposed to go into the scribe quadrant, and then at the last minute, her mom literally puts her into the dragon riders quadrant and told her to prepare for that. I think she only gave her like a few months to train. There she meets Xaden, and there's a little backstory. Xaden hates Violet's mom, and so Xaden, of course, is like her enemy as soon as she gets to this college. So it just kind of goes through everything that is going on in the whole Nevera and everything to do with the dragon riders. They have to go through like a dragon riding school and have to do all these trials and things to actually prepare to bond with a dragon. And in this book, the dragons talk to you through like mental connection. So that is probably one of the best things, because my cousin said that that was her favorite part because she loves the dragons and the way that they talk in the book. But yeah, it is just so good. Like, and there's also magic in here too. My thoughts, I think it was perfect. I know some people said that it was not that great. They said it was for beginners, and of course this was my first romantasy, my first fantasy that I have ever read. My take on this book is I loved the writing. Rebecca Yarros done amazing, I thought. It's easy to get into, it's kind of easy to read. It is a bigger book, of course, but I did not mind that at all. Xaden is a shadow daddy, and I think he's incredible. I might be a little biased, but yeah, I think the way that this story is told, it traps you in there. And I swear, I don't know if you guys did, if you have read Fourth Wing, but I got so connected to these characters. It almost felt like I was there with them and they were my friends. It did not feel like I was reading a book. Like most of the time it does feel like I'm watching movies when I do read books, but yeah, I just felt like these characters were my friends. I gave this a 6 out of 5 stars, but I want to say that this was over the top for me. This was literally a 6-star read. I love it so much. I still think about it, and I still have moments from this book running in my mind, and it's been literally a year almost since I finished reading this, so it's literally incredible. It literally made me want to get into more fantasy and more romantasy books. This next book I started January 24th, 2024 and ended it January 31st, 2024. I heard a lot of things about this book, and one girl that I watch on YouTube, her name is Carla Espinoza. I love her so much. She is like one of my favorites to watch. So if you don't know her, then go watch her. I feel like if we knew each other, I feel like we could be pretty good friends. But anyways, I heard her talk about this book and it made me want to read it. And that is Normal People by Sally Rooney. This actually has a meaning to it. I don't know if a lot of people actually realize that when they're reading it, or whether if you have, I hope you do know that it literally has a meaning. But it follows Connell and Mary Ann. They grew up together and they go to the same school, but Connell he's very popular, has lots of friends and everything. Then Mary Ann, she is very unpopular. People kind of make fun of her. Her mom's rich, but yeah, she like has no friends and everything. But yet Connell's mom cleans Mary Ann's mom's house. She's the maid. And so Connell comes to pick up his mom, and then the two of them start talking. And so then it goes throughout their relationship, friendship, from like when they are in high school all the way to college, and I want to say like right after college. But yeah, so this follows throughout like all the years, but it pretty much just signifies and like tells people that like nobody's normal. So like you might feel out of place in the world, you might feel awkward and everything, but there's always going to be that moment that everybody feels awkward, everybody feels like they're out of place, or that they just don't fit in, or yeah, so that is what this is about. So yes, I did love what it was technically about. I liked both of the characters, Mary Ann and Connell. The only thing though is it wasn't too much of like a movie playing in my head when I read this, so that was disappointing because that's typically what I do. It's always like a movie, like I'm watching a movie. I think it is because this is it's wrote as a literary fiction, so I just don't think the writing was it for me. I couldn't like picture everything, but of course it was not terrible. It just was not my favorite. I didn't connect with it as much as I was hoping to. And I kind of more so got the message once the book was over. And then it's also a show on Hulu. And I love the two actors that they had play Mary Ann and Connell. But when I read this, I only gave it a 3 stars. And like I said, it's just because I didn't connect with it. I didn't think it was like an over top story. Like I said, there is a meaning to it, and I do love that meaning. And I'm not saying that don't read this book. I think everybody should technically read it once in their life if you do like reading, because it just makes you kind of understand other people's minds and how people think and how you can help someone, and how to not like overthink about things, and don't think because of like who you're with or who you're friends with or something like that, that it matters to what other people think. Okay, so the third book that I read in 2024, I started it February 1st, 2024 and ended it February 8th, 2024. And that was a Wattpad story. I used to read Wattpad all of the time. It was The Player Next Door by Baby in a Corner. It is a romance, and it is about popular boy Luke that is, I think he is a top of the team basketball player and everything, and you know, he's popular, he's a player, of course, because that's why it's called The Player Next Door. But anyways, like all the girls want him, and of course most of the girls get him, and he's very, very good looking and handsome. And then our main female character is Millie, and she is kind of a clumsy person. She don't have very many friends. She feels like she doesn't fit in, yeah, and she just gets bullied a lot. and everything, because she doesn't think she's pretty and a lot of people tell her that, so she literally doesn't feel pretty at all. This goes by like they're next door neighbors, but yet he doesn't even really know her, or at least that's what she thinks. And then she goes to work at the camp for the summer, and he's actually one of the camp counselors, and then he kind of gets to know her and they have to like partner up for part of this summer and everything. So then they actually make a friendship and they eventually like really start to like each other, and so it just follows the relationship in general. It was really good. I thought it was. I mean, the writing was a little towards some spots, but that's because, you know, these are, what do I want to say? These are people that aren't like actual like writers or whatever, but they some of them can become writers and everything. But yeah, that being said, I would totally recommend this book, and there is, I think, a second book and maybe a third book. I think it's a trilogy, and I have not read the second book, so that is actually going to be on my radar for 2025. I did give this a 4 stars. I think it was pretty good. I enjoyed it. But I'm also one of those people that I love a good romance, and I especially love it when it is like an unpopular girl and a popular boy, because I just think that that's awesome. Okay, so book 4 of 2024. I started it February 9th, 2024 and ended it February 26th, 2024. But that is The Perfect Marriage by Geneva Rose. This follows Sarah and Adam. They are married, and Sarah, she's one of the best defense attorneys in Washington, D.C., and then her husband Adam is a struggling writer. He wrote some books that were hits, and then he hasn't been able to write a good book in quite some time. Sarah is always working because she's a really good lawyer, so you know, of course, she is always wanted. And Adam sneaks away quite often to their lake house, where he says he goes there to focus on his writing, which he does, but then he eventually starts going to a coffee shop and he meets Kelly Summers, and he starts having an affair with Kelly Summers at their lake house, until one day Kelly is found brutally stabbed in Sarah and Adam's bed at the lake house. And so everybody says that Adam done it because he's the only one that would have been there, and he was the last one with her and everything. So the story unravels. It's mostly, I would say, about Adam's point of view and about the case, and to figure out, like, because he says he's innocent, so it kind of goes through about him trying to convince people that he's innocent and trying to figure out who actually done it. Oh, it says a completely gripping psychological suspense. I didn't think personally it was too much of a suspense, other than, of course, I wanted to know whether if Adam did it or didn't do it and everything, so that's what actually kept me reading this book. But I would say that like almost 75 to 80% of this book is literally just about the trial, and then him trying to figure out who actually killed her, because he claims he's innocent, and it goes through him trying to find other people and learning about Kelly Summers' life and everything, and trying to convince his wife that he didn't do it, and she actually is his lawyer, so she is defending him. So I actually got pretty bored. I thought it was pretty competitive, just kind of back and forth, and not too much of like a gripping effect as it says up here. But that being said, I will say about at least the last 10% of this book was pretty mind-blowing. It had a plot twist, and I will say it left me in awe, and I also had tears in my eyes. I'm not a huge fan of a book that is going to make me bawl, but if it is going to make me teary-eyed, then it has to be a pretty emotional book. So I will say that the end is pretty emotional. But yeah, with that being said, did I think it was the most amazing story? No. The aspect of the story, the way it's told, the writing, and how it ends and everything, I will say is very unique. I have not read a thriller like that, so I did enjoy that part of the book, and I wish that it was just a little bit more thrilling and it had more things that like hold you in and like what's going on or whatever. But yeah, so that being said, I only rated this 3 stars. So, okay, so book 5 of 2024. I started it February 29th, 2024 and ended it April 7th, 2024. It was literally one of my most anticipated reads after Fourth Wing, which you should know what I'm gonna say. Iron Flame. Of course, of course. This series, I feel like, is probably going to be one of the best series that I have ever read. I feel like it's probably going to be top tier for me. I know some people did not like Iron Flame. They did not like how Rebecca Yarros portrayed the FMC Violet in it. But like, to me, if you understand what happens in book 1, you'll understand why Rebecca Yarros wrote Violet in book 2. That being said, it is pretty thick, so there was a few parts that, you know, of course, because I had to have fill-ins, that I was a little draggy out and I was a little bored with. But that being said, overall the story continued really well. I loved where she went with it, and I will say that this book also made me teary-eyed. I don't know if I said that, but like Fourth Wing made me teary-eyed too, so allegedly it was the year for being teary-eyed reading. Yeah, it just kind of follows the story of all of the characters from Fourth Wing, plus our 2 main characters, Violet and Xaden, in book 2. And then there's also some new characters in Iron Flame, and then there's new war, and then there's new secrets and things going on in Nevarra that happens in Iron Flame. It is really, really interesting. Like I said, the first part of the book is like, it pulls you in, and I thought, oh my gosh, this is going to be so amazing. And then in the middle, it did get a little boring, but towards the end, oh my gosh, it blew my mind away. And absolutely love the dragons. I love the creatures and the characters and everything, the world building that Rebecca Yarros put into this. I feel like it is amazing. I love it so much. From Fourth Wing and Iron Flame, it makes me giggle and want to scream and kick my feet, and I just love Xaden and his filthy mouth so much. And I love Violet. She, to me, is a little bit like me. She's a little sassy, and I love that as the character. But like I said, because it did get a little boring just because of how thick it is, I did only give it a 5-star instead of a 6-star like I did Fourth Wing. But of course, 5-star is still amazing. I still loved it. I still enjoyed it, and I cannot wait because we are literally like 2-3 weeks away from Onyx Storm being released, and so I cannot wait to get my hands on it. I need to know what goes on. If you read it, then you know why I need to know what's gonna happen in Onyx Storm. Okay, so book 6 of 2024. I started it April 10th of 2024 and ended it May 4th of 2024. This is another book that I had seen quite a few people say it was really, really amazing, and I never read anything by the writer. And I had Sarah Carell and I think Carla, both of them say that this book was really good and they love the author. And so when I read the title and then read the description of the book, I thought it sounded really, really good. And so I did give it a try, and that is Emily Henry's Happy Place. And I know I'm probably going to make a lot of people mad with this one, but I did not enjoy it. And I know a lot of people said that it's so amazing, and I really wish that I did enjoy it. But if you don't know, Happy Place is about Win and Harriet. they got into a relationship and they kind of became inseparable. They were like the end game. Their friends thought that they were literally end game. They thought that they were going to be together forever. Harriet and Wyn actually wind up splitting up, and they don't tell their friends because it had been recently, and Harriet didn't have the heart to tell her friends because she thought maybe she was going to lose her friends. So they actually get stuck by both having to be at the friends' beach house that they always go to, or they try to every year as a friend group to hang out. They actually invite both of them, talk to both of them, and don't realize, because of course they don't know, that they split up. So Harriet and Wyn try faking it for the whole time that they are at this beach house. So it just kind of shows you like how they're trying to act like they care for one another, but yet truly they are split up. But yet at the same time there is still that connection, and they both don't want to admit it. And Harriet is pissed at Wyn for how it ended and everything, so it just kind of tells that story. And it has the story about their families, their friends, how they grew up, and the relationship between Harriet and Wyn. And like I said, I love the setting of the book. The writing is really, really good. I love Harriet and Wyn. I love the friends and everything and where they go on vacation. But that being said, how the book is written, to me, it's one of those very emotional, like, kind of romances. It just kind of made me a little depressed reading it, because there is a little bit of some heavy emotional stuff in there and everything, and talking about family loss and stuff like that. And that being said, yeah, it just kind of made me a little depressed and just kind of put me in kind of a different mood, a different place. And yeah, I'm just not that kind of person that I can't do that. With that being said, I just was not that big of a fan of the book because of that. Otherwise, the story was unique. So I mean, I do not recommend it, but if you're like me and you have enough emotional thoughts and stuff like that, and you're not a big fan of stuff that is going to make you too emotional, then I wouldn't recommend. But if you do not mind that and you want a really, really good story and characters that you're going to love and everything, I totally recommend it to you. That being said, I gave it a 3.5 stars. I say that this would probably be a 4-star read if it just didn't make me feel that emotional and that kind of like depressive. Okay, so book 7 of 2024. I started it May 5th, 2024 and ended it June 20th. That is because I had some family issues and everything going on too. It wasn't really necessarily the book was that bad, but my family dog that I had since I was 8 passed away. So yeah, I was just kind of having a hard time with that, and I didn't read, I don't think, for like 2 to 3 weeks maybe or so like that. So yeah, I just had to kind of get back into the reading after that happened. So, but this is the Kay Scarpedia series. It has the first 3 books of this Kay Scarpedia series, and so yeah, I actually read Body of Evidence. It follows Beryl Madison. She believed that somebody was after her and was threatening her, and she was getting phone calls and everything, and she believed she was getting stalked. And of course the police didn't really believe her too much because, well, every time that they kind of came around or whatever, there was actually no evidence to them that she was being stalked. And then the one day she was out and about and she noticed that somebody wrote on the side of her car door and threatened. She freaks out and she flees to the Key West in Florida, and she stayed there for, I can't remember, I want to say it was a few months or so like that. She like fled and lived down there for quite some time, and then she realized that she had to go back because of course she was a writer, and I think something about a book or something like that she was writing. She was supposed to give the book details to her publicist. the night that she comes home, she is actually murdered. So then they follow a string of like people that she lived with before and her family and all the people that she was connected to, and there was no forced entry, so they try to figure out who the killer actually is, because they were like, then they thought that it was somebody she knew because she let him in and everything. So it is a crime series and it really wasn't bad. Like, I love Patricia Cornwell's writing. She is so smart and I love the character Kay that she created. She is such a smart lady, and even though she is a medical examiner, I think, she is really, really smart, and she's almost smarter than some of the FBI detectives and everything, because like she is just on these cases like that, and she figures it out and like analyzes stuff better than some of the FBI agents, and I just think that that's very intriguing. I love the story and I love that it is like a female character doing those things. That being said, it just wasn't as good as the first book that I read in the Kay Scarpedia series. I will say that it dragged out a little bit, was a little boring, because to me not a lot of stuff happened and the investigation was very, very slow, and it was just more like analyzing things and kind of like questioning things and figuring things out. And yeah, it was just not my favorite. I did give it though 3.5 stars, so it wasn't terrible, and I am definitely going to continue reading the series. And yeah, I did enjoy reading it though, because I do like crime, and like I said, I do like how she tells you the story about the medical examiner and how it literally explains to you and almost teaches you a little bit about how they investigate. Okay, so book 8 of 2024. I started it June 20th, 2024 and ended it July 23rd, 2024. It's in a trilogy that I have read the other 2 books, and so this is the 3rd and final book, that trilogy and everything, and that is The Next 365 Days by Blanka Lipinska. I think that is how you pronounce her name. I'm not 100% sure. But if you do not know, this is a Netflix movie, and it follows like a mafia lord that, like, his dad dies. His name's Massimo. His dad dies and he almost died, and he sees a vision of a woman when he like was almost dead, but he survives and everything, and then he devotes his life and he believes that she is a real woman. He does actually come across the real woman, and that is Laura. He waits until Laura and her long-term boyfriend go on vacation with their 2 best friends for Laura's birthday. He kidnaps her and gives her 365 days to love him. If she tries to escape, he will kill her family. She winds up actually liking him, and so all 3 of the books is like their relationship and about him being the mafia lord, and about her trying to deal with it, and about his enemies and everything coming after her and like all of his secrets, and then she has a few secrets of her own. But that being said, this book, the 3rd and final book, I feel like this book was almost detached from the first 2 books. Like, I feel like Massimo in this book was almost like a total different character. It did not even seem like the same Massimo in this book. So that kind of made me feel kind of eh. And of course, if you have watched the movies on Netflix and read the books, you know the movies on Netflix are completely different from the books. And I'm kind of like I kind of don't like that either. Like, if they wanted to change it, I feel like they should have changed it a little more for the better and not have it almost like the book but yet different. The other 2 books I feel like was a 5-star for me, just because I enjoyed the mafia sense of it and the romance and like the dark romance aspects of it, because I definitely want to get into actual dark romance books. But yeah, it just definitely was not my favorite out of the series. But that being said, it was still good. I just did not like how they made Massimo seem totally different, and then I feel like just the way Laura was thinking and everything was completely different from like the other 2 books too. So I did give it a 4 stars. Okay, so book 9 of 2024. I started it July 23rd, 2024 and ended it July 4th, 2024. It is Seven Fates Chaco it is created by Hybe, co-produced by Webtoon with BTS. If you guys don't know this, I am a huge BTS fan. Yeah, that is typically why I really wanted to get these and collect them even if I didn't like them. But they are graphic novels and literally the graphics are gorgeous and amazing. They've done such a good job on them. This is graphic novel 1, that's why there is a 1, and then there's also characters that BTS created, so like each character kind of represents them. This one is Zaya. I can't remember exactly how the story goes, but I will try to do it without telling you too much. But Zaya's parents were both killed. Supposedly he was there, but he survived, but he doesn't remember it. And then all of a sudden he remembered being at Inwang Mountain with his parents, I believe, and he believes that that was the night of the attack, but he did not know why they were at the Inwang Mountain. And so Zaya actually goes there that night, and there winds up being some creatures, and he actually gets hurt and wakes up in the hospital. There's creatures running around all over, and they're called the Biome, I believe is how you pronounce it. But yeah, so it is kind of like a fantasy, and it actually is created on a, what do you call that, like a wise tale. He actually meets a guy, and this guy actually helps him to understand what he is. He actually is made to be a fighter. And if you don't know, Zaya is on the cover here, and that is Jungkook's character, and we do meet Jimin's character in this book, although I don't remember his name. And I do like it because, like, if you also don't know anything about but there is actually like a myth and everything, and that there's actually a thing they used to believe was called the Biome, and so it actually tells you a little bit about that in the back, and it actually like gives you little details of how they created the characters, and it also gives you a little bit details about the story and everything. But yeah, this one I feel like it flashed back and forth a few times though, like I think it's like 3 different times to different characters and stuff like that in the book and things like that. So I felt like I was a little confused and I didn't get the storyline as well, but otherwise it was really entertaining. But that being said, I did only give this 3 stars, which sucks, I know, but like I said, if it was like a regular book, I feel like, and there was more of like a description of it or whatever, maybe I would understand what was going on and I would have liked it more. Of course, I am going to collect them and continue them because it's BTS and I love BTS. Okay, so book 10 of 2024, I started it July 24th and ended it August 11th of 2024. And that is a book series that my mom actually saw on Facebook and recommended it to me because I liked 50 Shades of Grey, and it said, for lovers of 50 Shades of Grey, you are going to even love this series more. And I don't know if I love it more, but I definitely love it just as much as 50 Shades of Grey, so maybe a little more, I'm not quite sure yet. It is a series by Helen Hart, and it is the Steele Brothers Saga series. This is book 7. So yeah, I have read 6 before this, and then now this would be 7. And this goes along by, it's kind of like a ranch story, and so it goes along by the Steele brothers and their sister. And so there is Talon, Joe, and Ryan Steele, and so I think it's 3 books each. The first 3 books is about Talon. I will say Talon is probably still my favorite brother, but Joe is right up there with him. I love Jonah's story. But yeah, so the first 3 books is Talon. Book 4 to 6 is of Jonah. And then so this one, book 7, was the first book that we got a look at Ryan Steele. So this one's called Shattered. And yeah, it's just kind of about their life, and it is dark romance and dark mystery, and it is for mature audiences, of course, because it is kind of like a dark romance and there is some heavy subjects in these books. But that being said, I love them. I love the characters. It is set on a ranch in Colorado. There's also a mystery that continues within the family, and they also have a sister, and I want to say her name is Marianne, but I might be wrong. I can't remember. But yeah, they're just very interesting because there's a mystery through all the books. There's like some crime and things like that, and yeah, but just remember to check the trigger warnings on this. But I totally recommend this series to you. Literally every single book has been 5 stars for me, except for this one. This one, I will say, was a little less on like the actual storyline and the story and the mystery from the other books, and was just more focused on Ryan and his love interest. And I feel like there was a little bit more like sexual tension and just more like smut in this book compared to like the other ones was like a mixture, I feel like. So with that being said, I did only give this 4.5 stars, but of course it is still really, really good, and so I still recommend it. Okay, so book 11 of 2024. I started it August 15th, and I also ended it August 15th because it is also another short story. So it didn't, of course, I could read it in one day, and it is another graphic novel, which is also the second in the Seven Fates Chaco series with the BTS characters. And this one brings in Haru, I think, which he is on the front right there. And if you cannot tell, this is RM's character, and I think he's hot. And just like the first one, the graphics are incredible. I really love getting the view of all of the BTS characters, like who they created and everything. I love that part of it. That's like probably one of my most favorite parts, and what is actually like keeping me so interested in this series. It is very, very interesting, and I will say from like actually reading the first book and having going back and forth between like different timelines and different stories and everything, when you were getting like told 3 different stories. But yeah, I will say just from connecting to that book and everything to connecting to this one, I liked this one a lot better because I feel like what we got, the storylines and what was told and everything, the backs, like the story of it, and then going into this one, of course, you knew what was going on, you knew kind of the backstory of some of the characters, and then you're getting the backstory of some of the new characters and everything. But what's actually going on and where they're fighting is really, really more interesting in this one. I think it might be just because of actually reading the first one and then going into the second one, you know more and you actually know more of the story, so it's more interesting. So that being said, I actually gave this 4 stars. So yeah, I did really, really enjoy this one more than the first one, and of course I am going to continue it. I do actually have the third one, so I will be continuing it sometime this year. Okay, so book 12 of 2024. I started it August 18th, 2024 and ended it September 25th, 2024, and that is because it is a pretty thick book, and the series has been literally thick books the whole entire time. But it is the After series by Anna Todd, and this is pretty much the last and final book of this series. It does end the story between Hessa, which is Hardin, and Tessa, but this is After Ever Happy. And let me tell you, I watched the last and final movie first, and then I read this book, and I was not a fan of the movie. I just was like, what is wrong with this? It just seems so off. It didn't really have like Hardin and Tessa's love story much in the movie. It like had where Hardin and Tessa got into a fight, and then he was trying to become a better person and forget about his life that was before Tessa, and apologizing to people and just trying to become a better person. And then like at the end, it was like all of a sudden you get to see Tessa almost after the whole entire movie, and then like it just continues their story after that. But it was just very weird. So I was a little nervous going into After Ever Happy, but after I got into it, it was literally just so good. And like, I would say like maybe the first quarter to like half of the book, I was a little weary. I didn't know if I was gonna like it as much, but yeah, definitely when I finished this book, I was like, this is exactly why I love their story, and I love Hessa and I love Hardin. But this is technically not really the last book in this series. There is Before, which Before actually follows like the other characters and gives their point of view from the whole After series and everything. So yeah, I am excited because I do have that book too, so I will actually complete it this year as well. But yeah, I really did love this book, and I did give it a 5 stars. So literally the whole entire season for me, the whole entire series for me is 5 stars. So yeah, I totally recommend it to you if you have not heard about it. Okay, so book 13 of 2024. I started September 29th, 2024 and ended it October 20th, 2024. And this was actually in a video my mom picks my read. It is A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas. So yes, I have officially started ACOTAR. But if you don't know and don't know what the story is about, it is about Farah. She lives in a very small cottage, has like no money, with her dad and her 2 sisters, and so she always goes out and hunts for food for her family. She is a very strong-willed girl. I do like her. So the one night that she goes out to try to go hunting for her family so that way they have something to eat, there is a story that there is actually fairies where they live, and Farah goes out hunting and comes across a wolf. And at first she thinks that it might be a fairy, but that is all just myths that they've heard, and so they don't even really know if they actually exist because she has never seen one. But when she looks at it, she believes that it's a fairy, and the fairy or the wolf actually notices her. So the fairy actually goes to move closer to her, and she knows that her family will starve if she doesn't bring food home. So she winds up shooting and killing the fairy, and it actually was a fairy. And she skinned it. She sold the fur so that way she could make money for her family. And so the fairies actually find out, and the main guy in this book is Tamlin. Tamlin finds out and everything because it was one of his people from the Spring Court, I believe. So he actually comes and picks her up. He takes her back to the fairy realm in the Spring Court with him because she has to live there because she killed one of his kind, and so that is her punishment. She has to live with the fairies and live with Tamlin, and there is this curse looming over the fairy lands, and she tries to save them from the curse. That is pretty much the story of the book, I believe. There is one other fairy in this, and I cannot think of his name. Literally nobody, and I mean nobody, really talked about him. Oh, it's Lucien, or at least that's how I pronounce it. But yeah, Lucien, and I believe he is one of my favorite characters. I love his banter and his mouth. It is so funny. But yeah, this book did have parts of it had me giggling and kicking my feet. A lot of people said that you were gonna want to love Tamlin but not to because something happens. I still don't know what happens because as of right now, Tamlin has not done anything that is really that bad because I just read this first book. But that being said, when Rise, literally as soon as this character come in, I freaking love his darkness, and yeah, his just like his shadowy like bat kind of figure. I flippin' love him. So yeah, this is literally my second romantasy, and I literally enjoyed it so much. I gave it a 4.5 stars, so I totally recommend it, and of course I will read the second book sometime in 2025. Okay, so book 14th of 2024. I started it October 23rd, 2024 and ended it November 8th, 2024. And this was also in my mom picks my reads, and that is The Housemaid by Frida McFadden. I heard a lot of things because Frida McFadden, of course, is a very popular writer, author, and everything. This goes by Millie, and so Millie gets a job at the Winchester's home, and she, of course, is the housemaid. But she soon finds out that the lady that hired her, which is Mrs. Winchester, Nina Winchester, she acts a little out of it all the time, and she just acts very, very weird, so she feels like there's a mystery going on. Nina also makes a mess around the house and likes to make Millie clean it up. And Andrew, the husband, literally is so sweet to Millie and everything, and she doesn't understand why he is still with Nina and everything, so everything just doesn't seem what it seems like, and literally everything just makes you think about the story and wonder what is actually going to go on. She actually finds out too that she has to stay in the attic, and the attic door only locks from the outside. So it is very intriguing, a very good thriller. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I thought it was really, really good. The writing is very easy. I wouldn't say like too descriptive, but like in some parts it really is, and it did play like a movie in my head, and I would say it's probably one of my best thrillers. I did give it a 4 stars, so yeah, it was really, really good. I enjoyed it. I love the book. It is in a trilogy, and so I will read the second one in 2025. Okay, so book 15 of 2024. I started it November 11th and ended it December 15th. And this one I really wanted to read because it's in a trilogy, and I already read the first book and watched the first movie out on Amazon. And so I really wanted to read the second book before the second movie came out, and that came out in December. So I wanted to make sure I got this book done before that was out. And that is the Culpa Mia series by Mercedes Ron. So the first one is My Fault, which is Culpa Mia. So that is how you will find it on Amazon, but it is like dubbed in English. And then the second one is Your Fault, which is called Culpa Tua, which is also available on Amazon as a movie right now. This just follows Noah and Nick. Noah is a girl from Canada. Her mom goes on a cruise and winds up marrying this guy, and they wind up having to move from Canada, leaving her boyfriend and her best friend in Canada, moving all the way to LA. And then that is where she meets her new stepdad and her stepbrother, Nick. And yeah, so her boyfriend and a best friend wind up cheating on her, and she finds out by a message that is sent to her. And so she winds up getting really, really mad at her mom because her mom took her away from there and took her away from her home place, all of the people she knew, and her best friend and her boyfriend. And then they wound up betraying her, and then so she winds up having a fling for her stepbrother, and her stepdad and her mom are not too happy about that, and they're trying to keep them apart. And so yeah, this is the second book, and I will say that the book wasn't as good. It was pretty boring, and there wasn't much subjects, I would believe, to even in the first book. And I literally thought the first movie was better than the book, which is odd because normally the book is better than the movie. And then with this one, yeah, I didn't really enjoy this one. It was still good. The ending of the book was what really sold me, and yeah, it was just like a plot twist at the end of this book, and maybe a little bit through the middle of it too. I gave it 3.5 stars, and I literally did enjoy the Culpa Tua, the movie, for this one a little bit better, but I will say that they did leave out a couple things from the book that I wish was actually in the movie. But that being said, yes, I really did enjoy the movie more than the book. Okay, so book 16 of 2024. So this is the last book that I read of 2024. and I started it December 18th and ended it December 31st, just in time. It is they are both from a video that I am currently doing right now too. So the last and final one that I read was the third book in the K Scarpedia series, which is All That Remains. So of course it still has K Scarpedia as the medical examiner, and she is investigating, it's called the couple killings. And then this lady, which she is actually like a drug czar in Washington, D.C., her daughter goes missing, and they think her daughter and her daughter's boyfriend are connected to the couple killings. And they literally don't know how these couples are dying or anything, because the killer is literally doing it perfectly, as to nobody finds them until months later when it's hunting season. And so then their body is literally decaying, and so yeah, there's actually usually just bones left. So they literally don't know how they're killing them, and then they literally think there is some mysteries and some secrets going around the FBI, CIA, all that stuff. They think that there is just something fishy going on and everything. But yeah, so it was entertaining, interesting. I will say some parts was a little bit boring in this too, because of course it drags out because it is an investigation, so you are following the investigation, but it still teaches you some things about investigating and everything, and that is what I truly love. But I give it a 3.5 stars, but I still would recommend it. I did enjoy it, and yeah, so I can't wait for the 4th book. I will continue this series. Okay, so that is all of the books that I read in 2024. There is a total of 16 because that includes the Wattpad novel that I did read. But yeah, I want to thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope you guys enjoyed. And of course there is going to be some more book videos here in 2025, and then like I said, I think I will also update you and do my top 10 or my top 5 books of 2024. I hope to see you in my next video.